Gee,
Give you more room.
we're gonna have to hire more help.
Legs. I can keep one leg on.
You know, I took over the bill.
I'm gonna get this rolling. Mr. Murdoch, did you happen to sign up? If you'd like to come up and get going while we get organized here, I apologize. I apologize for the length of the executive session. Seems like we have a lot of problems today. Okay, Mr. Murdoch.
My name's Brian Murdoch. I'm a farmer from Blackfoot. I would like to, as always, thank the board for this opportunity. I just recently came back from Washington, D.C. with this delegation that went back to talk to our federal delegation about the more storage, and it has brought to me a much better appreciation of how you do things here. I was not strip searched. I didn't have to take off my belt. There are no snipers sitting on top of the building. I'm sure Director Weaver would like to have those at a time or two, but I appreciate this. Of course, there's 2 points that I'd like to discuss real quick. The first should be no surprise, and it's that pesky non-diversion agreement that you guys are going to probably sign today, and I know that. So my point is, I still do not understand the need or the benefit to anybody besides Idaho Power for this agreement. It kind of feels a little like it's a backroom deal, and those kind of always have an interesting smell about them. But I recognize that this is part of the cloud seeding, and I'm for cloud seeding. Okay, I'm for anything, especially this year that we can get more snow, including prayer. But to allow more water to go by simply to appease Idaho Power, I'm not so sure that won't bite us in the butt one day. The wording on paragraph 7 that you've added to it is broad enough and vague enough. I'm sure Mr. John Simpson and Scott could drive a large tractor with a 30-foot disc through the middle of that paragraph. I guess to me, this is another prime example of Idaho Power wanting its cake and eating it too. They want the water to come out of the springs, which we have only accomplished through decades of incidental recharge through our irrigation projects. And yet when it comes time to take the water out of the river to put it into the recharge, then they say, no, we want it left in the river. But I know I'm swimming upstream, and so I will move on. The second point that I'd like to talk with you about was just what I got done doing, going to Washington, D.C., where we met with everyone. We did very well in communicating to our federal delegation, Crapo and Risch and Simpson and Fulcher, very much listened. They are very much desirable that this happens. I'm grateful for your letter of that you sent, the letter of interest. I was grateful yesterday as I was watching online. I was a little jet lagged and couldn't make it over here. So I watched you online discuss that, and I was not aware that that was turned in before the government shut down. And so I'm so grateful that you got it in and that it got, it was discussed and brought up by the Bureau of Reclamation that they have it. And yet the one thing that I come out of that is we have to have clear focus on what we're trying to do. That was what the delegation always kept asking. What specifically are you asking for? What specifically do you want to do? And I think it's up to this board and the water users to come to a consensus of projects A, B, and C. And this is what we ought to try to do. In my opinion, project A needs to be the Teton Dam. Now, whether or not that's the first one, that can be debated, but we have Minidoka Reservoir and Jackson Lake Dam raise. Those 3 projects should be the main focus of this study, in my opinion. The other thing that I learned is it's not about the money. We just got done watching them try to spend $1 billion on a Lava Ridge project, which nobody wanted, and yet they were dang well trying to spend all this money. We can find the money. The money's there. It's available in programs. This is the other thing that the delegation told us. We just have to match what we're trying to do with the programs that are available. Colorado has just completed Teton Dam's bigger sister, as I'm calling it. This is the Chimney Hollow Reservoir, which is over there by Fort Collins. And as I joke, if my beer brewing, dope smoking, environmentalist leaning Democrat junior senator cousin, John Hickenlooper, all right, believe it or not, he is my fourth cousin, can get a dam built in Colorado. Why can't we? There's no reason why we can't get that done. I guess even the Coloradoans have figured out that they need water to grow marijuana. So I guess, like I said, it is in, I believe, Idaho's best interest if this board can already get focused on what we're going to ask for the study to be done on and lead the way. In conclusion, I know it's pointless to ask for you to not sign the non-diversion agreement, but I'm still going to ask. The only benefit I can see is that then this fight will be over and Idaho Power will have their, in my opinion, sorry, petty little agreement, and we can get focused on bigger projects such as these storages. We have to work together on this bigger picture. As I told the Farm Bureau the other day, Idaho really does have a cow problem. You guys remember that from the governor's speech, the Californians, Oregons, and Washingtons. Well, we have the black and white cows, and we have the blue-haired cows and the purple cows and the pink-haired cows. Idaho since 1990, I hadn't figured this up until the other day, has doubled the population from 1 million in 1990 to 2 million right now. The other scary thing that I learned is we also increased dairy cows from 160,000 to over 700,000. That's a 500,000 more dairy cows. Those dairy cows drink 80 gallons a day, and the people are actually assigned by the EPA 80 gallons of water a day. So you add those all together, we are basically taking the Island Park Reservoir since 1990, that amount of water just to deal with the growth that we've had since 1990. That's what it's taken to water the cows. And so if we think we can continue this growth without adding more reservoirs, we're crazy. We have the water. Idaho has the water. Idaho has the places to put the water. Idaho can get the money to build these things for the water. We just have to squirt some ether in this old tractor and get this machinery rolling again and start it up and get this reservoir building going. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, board members, any questions for Brian? Thanks, Brian. Thanks for your efforts in DC. It's interesting back there. Yeah.
Very much.
Okay, John Williams. Good morning, John.
John Williams with the Bonneville Power Administration. Morning, Mr. Chairman, board members, Director Weaver. I have 3 items that I would like to give you an update on. One you already know. Environmental groups filed preliminary injunction in the Columbia River operations case. BPA does not comment on pending litigation. Despite a return to litigation, BPA remains fully committed to our fish and wildlife mitigation responsibilities under the Northwest Power Act. Looking ahead, we will continue to pursue solutions that optimize operations of the hydropower generation, other system operations, and conditions for fish and wildlife. BPA is open to good faith efforts to collaborate with regional tribes and other stakeholders and entities that support both fish and hydropower. Reaching a satisfactory solution to the decades-long cycle of litigation is what we seek. And as many of you know, this goes back to 95, 96 with the first biological opinion. And here we are today, still trying to find solutions. With that, I'm going to my second item, and this is on BPA's financial condition. BPA maintains a strong financial position despite a challenging water year. This past year, BPA successfully achieved all of its financial targets, demonstrating a strong financial position even amid a dry year that challenged our financial risk. In addition to achieving agency revenue and cost targets, BPA sustained high investment grade credit ratings. Furthermore, BPA fulfilled its annual payment to the U.S. Treasury, unscheduled and in full. This includes interest to the amount of $1.2 billion. So that affirms BPA's financial fiscal responsibility. Last, the residential exchange program. I think I mentioned to this body a couple of years ago in our initial analysis. I think the current residential exchange program benefits was around 236 million, and this was 2 years ago, we saw that benefit being decreased to about $36 million. Well, we've been trying to get the investor-owned utilities and the consumer-owned utilities to meet and come up with a negotiated settlement. They have not been able to do that, and so during the past year, there's been several letters sent to Bonneville, from congressionals to the governors and everybody else. And so Bonneville decided that we're going to create and develop a settlement concept. As of today, those workshops on this concept includes involving a methodology calculations. And so that will continue, and hopefully through this process, we're able to reach some type of a settlement. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my comments for this morning.
Okay, board members, any questions for John? Okay, Al has one.
Mr. Williams, on the litigation, has Bonneville made any estimates of the impacts to generation as a result of the proposed preliminary injunction motions?
Mr. Chairman, Board Member Barker, as I mentioned, BPA does not comment on pending litigation.
Well, but you have to come up, you have to tell the court what the effect is going to be. Is that in the works, or that's okay? You don't have to answer. Yeah.
Mr. Barker, I think you just answered your own question.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, John. Appreciate you being here. Okay, next, that's all I have for public comment. Next on the agenda is the financial report. Neely?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just pull the materials up. Okay, you should see them on the screen.
Here we go.
As of October 31st, 2025, the board's available and committed balances are as follows. In the secondary aquifer planning, management, and implementation fund, the board has a cash balance of approximately 40.4 million, a committed balance of roughly 25 million, and an uncommitted balance of roughly 15.3 million. In the revolving development account, the board has a cash balance of approximately 36.4 million, a committed balance of roughly 24.5 million, and an uncommitted balance of roughly 11.9 million. Would also highlight that there's a loan principal outstanding of approximately 23 million. In the board's water management account, you have a cash balance of roughly 343.7 million. You have total committed funds of approximately 346 million. And I'll note here, I have a slight typo. The uncommitted funds should be a negative 2,347,762. And that'll be discussed a little bit later in the spending plan. Primary reason for that was the allocation, the full impact of that Twin Falls Canal Company Surface Water Efficiencies Grant. Then moving on to the ARPA, you can see here that you've received, you will be receiving $250 million in ARPA funds. And then you can see the total obligated is 259 with some of that overlap being drawn on from the water management account. Then you can see that of the 259, you have expended about 160 million with a remaining committed balance of roughly 99 million. With that, I would stand for any questions on the financial report.
Any questions for Neely? Okay, I think we're good to go. Thank you, Neely.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, water management account and secondary fund spending plans.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you spent quite a bit, or the finance committee spent quite a bit of time reviewing these yesterday in the finance meeting. And you have two resolutions in front of you that would modify both the spending plan for the secondary aquifer fund and the water management account. I would suggest you take up the secondary fund resolution first. Could you put that up, Justin, please? The net effect of this resolution would be to restore the 3% reduction that the board had taken out of the secondary fund spending plan at the last meeting before receiving direction from the governor's office that this fund was not subject to the 3% holdback. So the effect of this resolution is to restore that 3% within the secondary fund spending plan.
Okay, board members, any questions on this resolution?
Mr. Chairman, I go ahead and we approve this resolution as presented to us.
Okay, is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Barker.
Aye.
Ms. Cole-Hansen.
Aye.
Mr. Gibbs.
Aye.
Mr. McMahon.
Aye.
Mr. Olmstead.
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Van Stone.
Aye.
Chairman Raybould.
Aye, motion carries. Okay,
Okay.
next up.
Next up would be the water management account spending plan resolution, and see Justin's pulling that up. This, again, the finance committee spent a lot of time reviewing this one as well yesterday. And this would, in addition to restoring the 3% holdback that we thought the fund would be subject to, but it is not. It also makes some additional funding commitments. Do have just a couple of suggested edits that came out of the meeting yesterday. On line 154 of the resolution.
Okay,
We're going to add the words. Let's see, we would strike, so it says additional IWRB action. We would strike from action prior to the expenditure of funds.
we're, I'm looking at a moving target.
Yep, Brian, this is an updated version, so if you,
Oh, it's already in there?
let's see. So the row numbers may be slightly.
Oh,
But if you can point me to which now they're.
so therefore be resolved with the asterisk, Cynthia. Where it says additional IWRB action prior to the expenditure of funds. The chairman has suggested striking action prior to the expenditure of funds and replacing that with approval of project plan. Okay. If we move on to the actual table. Right there, in the second table, the funds obligated, we need to modify that date to reflect today's date. So that would be a second suggested edit.
That would be November 22nd.
Correct.
Okay,
The third would be the third edit. We scroll down to the bottom where there is the asterisk. where it references additional board action prior to the expenditure of funds. We would just modify that line to reflect the language in the resolution where it's approval of project plan rather than additional board action.
Okay,
And then the fourth edit would be to round 6 of the aging infrastructure grants. That dollar item may be modified based on your decision here in a few minutes regarding the aging infrastructure grant awards.
okay. Is the maker of the motion and the second okay with these edits to the resolution?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're now considering the resolution with these edits. Is there any further discussion?
Chairman, should we wait on this resolution until you address the other? So you don't have to come back and amend it?
I think you can go ahead and pass this resolution knowing that the round 6 of aging infrastructure may look slightly different based on your action when you take up the aging infrastructure grants.
I think if we pass the resolution with this line item reflected as the amount, the total amount approved for this particular round of the aging infrastructure, when we get to it, we should be okay.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Okay, then we will proceed to vote. Could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Barker,
Aye.
Ms. Cole-Hansen,
Aye.
Mr. Gibbs,
Aye.
Mr. McMahon,
Aye.
Mr. Olmstead,
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Van Stone,
Aye.
Chairman Raybould.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, next item, aging infrastructure grant awards.
Yes, Neely will discuss this. This also was discussed yesterday in the Finance Committee. And you do have a proposed resolution, although you asked Neely to go back and investigate one potential applicant. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patton. Good morning again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Yes, you need to share. Oh, I need to share. As you'll recall, yesterday, the board's finance committee made a recommendation to the full board, or actually, the board's finance committee asked staff to investigate one application. Staff did do that, did look into that, and has determined that the information that was brought to our attention yesterday is correct, and that it will not have a negative impact to the aquifer. So we have updated our scoring to incorporate that project, and you can see it is listed here on the attachment 8 associated with the resolution, and that would be that $2 million. So that would bring the total recommended funds award for award of $22,919,008. And staff has prepared a resolution for your consideration. And with that, I would stand for any questions.
Okay, board members, any questions for Neely? Any questions from beyond the recommendation that we received from the Finance Committee to include that additional line item? Al?
So, Chairman Neely, did we drop some people off the list as a result of that?
Mr. Chairman, Board Member Barker, the instructions were yesterday to not drop anyone off the list, to just add that one to the list. So it increased it by $2 million, the total funding.
Okay, good.
Okay, anything else? Okay, we have a resolution. Is there a motion to adopt?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt this motion as presented before us here.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. Could we have a roll call vote, please? Corey?
Neely, would you? page
Mr.
down
Barker?
to the list. So, Mr. Chairman, I vote aye on the resolution, and I will abstain on 3 applications: the District 45 Board of Control, the Upper Wood River Valley application, and the Boise Project Board of Control application.
Okay,
Ms. Cole-Hansen,
I vote aye, but I also want to note that I am no longer affiliated with Lloyd. I retired in 2024 and did not have any input into this application.
Mr. Gibbs,
I vote aye. Chair was declaring, I'm a member of the Last Chance Canal Company, but there are 161 stockholders, of which I'm one of 161. So if I need to abstain from the Last Chance, I'm willing to do that.
Mr. McMahon,
Aye with no qualifications.
Mr. Olmstead,
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Van Stone,
Aye.
Chairman Raybould.
aye. I also have to abstain for Fremont Madison Irrigation District and the Henry's Fork Groundwater District. Okay, we thank you one and all. We got through that without calling in a priest, so. Okay. Next up, proposed state water plan and ESPA camp changes.
Mr. Chairman, Neely will also walk through the proposed changes to the ESPA camp and state water plan.
Okay, what do you got, Neely?
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly, as you'll recall, the legislature passed SCR 110 that encouraged the board to update the board's state water plan as well as the ESPA camp to recognize the managed recharge goal of 350,000. The board went out with a public comment period and public hearings. Those were held in conjunction with board meetings this summer. A total of 5 public comments were received, 2 were written, and 3 were individuals that provided oral testimony. You can see the summary of those comments here in this table. You can again listen to that oral testimony on the board's YouTube channel under the Planning Committee. Staff discussed those public comments with the Planning Committee. The committee considered those comments when developing proposed changes to the state water plan. And staff has attached those, a clean version of all these changes. And you can see here, the state water plan proposed 4B, and then all the others 4D. And then we've got 4E and lastly, the ESPA camp. And with that, I would stand for any questions or discussion of these proposed changes. And I would highlight that I have prepared a resolution for your consideration when you choose to adopt these changes.
Okay, board members, we have some proposed changes to the state water plan before us. Are there any questions for Neely or comments or additional changes that you would request before we approve this?
So, Mr. Chairman, as the chairman of the planning committee, he took great interest in the comments that were received. We appreciate very much the efforts that staff had done and identified, particularly the areas where the legislature directed us or encouraged us, in Neely's words, to update the state water plan. I think we have done, the planning committee has done an excellent job along with the assistance of staff and comments addressing the issues that the legislature asked us to address, primarily updating the goals of recharge in the upper snake. I would have one additional recommendation to make to the board after some thought. I think it's on the 4th page.
What policy is it per se?
4D.
4D. How would that paragraph start out?
The paragraph starts with recognizing a hydraulic connection.
Oh, right there. Okay.
And I think that some of the comments were that we needed to make sure that we recognize some additional measures that have been taken by the state to deal with our hydrologic connections and hydrologic deficits in the ESPA. And I would recommend that we would add a phrase at the end of the second sentence in that paragraph. And that phrase would, that new sentence would say, in recent years, the state has implemented scientific measures to increase knowledge of the hydraulic connection between the ESPA and the Snake River, and implemented measures to improve aquifer conditions in and spring discharge from the ESPA. And then I would add the phrase, including establishing a groundwater management area and a moratorium. And that is a statement of historic fact that probably should be recognized in the state water plan.
Okay.
And with that edit, I would propose to adopt the resolution.
Okay. I have a motion to adopt. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any comments or questions about the resolution or this final edit? Okay, I think that's additional historic perspective. Okay, nothing else. We have a motion to adopt the resolution. Let's do a roll call vote on this one. Yeah.
Mr. Barker,
Aye.
Ms. Cole-Hansen,
Aye.
Mr. Gibbs,
Aye.
Mr. McMahon,
Aye.
Mr. Olmstead,
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Van Stone,
Aye.
Chairman Raybould.
Aye. Thank you, Corey. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been a lot of work and a heavy lift, and staff will get these changes packaged for submission to the legislature.
Yeah, let's be sure we're there on day one with our bells on to present this. I guess we give it to the entire legislature. It's the process.
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
they've updated the process recently, but I'll work with them closely to make sure we do that. correctly.
Comply. Okay. Okay, are we all okay for a while? American River Stream Channel alteration permits.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is an item that was discussed in the planning committee, and the planning committee made a recommendation to go ahead and approve these stream alteration permits. This is in relation to the South Fork Clearwater Basin Plan, which does create some additional requirements for certain types of stream alterations and prohibit certain types of stream alterations in certain reaches. And on the American River, which is a tributary in that basin, it does require further board approval for certain stream alterations. The stream channel folks came and talked to the planning committee about this one, and the planning committee did make a recommendation that the full board approve it. And you have a resolution in your packet for your consideration.
Okay, board, we have a resolution before us. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we adopt the resolution. It was an important facet in resolving some potential violations that have occurred on the stream channel, and I think it's an important decision by the board to help resolve those.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? No, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, ESPA recharge program update.
We'll have Matt Anders provide a brief update on the current status of the board's recharge program for this season.
Okay, all right. Evidently, we've got a graph or a chart.
We do.
You respond to pictures.
Shiny things. Well, with the live streaming, it takes just a little bit to actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Good. Ready? Thank you, Wes. We
Welcome,
ready?
Matt. Yes.
All right, Mr. Chair.
You're ready.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Matt Anders. I'm going to give you a brief update on recharge activities for this year. So recharge started on October 18th. All the data that I'm going to show you is as of November 18th, which is Tuesday. So, so far this season, we've recharged a little over 32,000 acre feet. All the recharge is happening in the lower valley. There's 3 companies that are diverting right now. Northside Canal Company has diverted or recharged a little over 26,000. Twin Falls Canal Company, 3,000. Southwest Irrigation District, 2,500. Current diversion rate is 470 CFS. Earlier in the season, we got up to 632 for a short period.
Okay.
This graph, on this graph here, this red line shows the amount of water in the Snake River that was available for recharge. The bars underneath it are the recharge by the 3 companies that are diverting. There is no gap between that red line and the bars, so that indicates that we've recharged everything that was available to us at Milner. In the late kind of November or October timeframe, we did divert a little over 600. That was the transition from irrigation to recharge. They wanted to bring down the Milner pool, so we diverted more water for a couple weeks to bring the pool down. But since the first or the second week of November, it's been pretty steady around 470, and our plan is to hold it steady through the winter months at a roughly that level. This graph shows you where the water's coming from. Currently, the releases from Minidoka Dam are about 415 CFS. There's 55 roughly CFS of gains, and then we're diverting 470 at Milner. This is my last figure here. This is the natural flow recharge by year since the recharge program started in 2014. So to orient you with the graph, on the left is the recharge volume. On the bottom is the day of the year. So I start on the left with November and I run it through June. Each line on this graph is a year of recharge operations. So the way to interpret this graph is all the lines start on the left side at 0. They end on the right at some volume above 0, indicating the total amount of recharge that happened in that year. So if you look at the lower left here, the dark blue or thick blue line is the current recharge season. We're off to a good start, but where are we headed from here? So what we know is that the Snake reservoirs carried over about 1.1 million acre feet of storage this year. That's relatively low for the Snake system. So the Bureau has estimated that we'll need a snowpack of about 115% of normal to fill the reservoirs next spring. So the most likely scenario is that we'll only be able to divert what's coming out of Minidoka unless we have a large snowpack. So an analogous year is last year. That's pretty much what we got last year. So the green line on this graph is last year's recharge. If we look at the early April timeframe, last year we would recharged about 130,000 acre feet. So barring a really good water year or a really good snowpack, we anticipate that we're going to recharge roughly 130,000 acre feet this year. So with that, if there's any questions or clarifications.
Board members, any questions for Matt? Okay, we're doing what we can do.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, next up, Littlewood River Channel, City of Gooding Flood Control Project.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Amy Castle will discuss this project, and she is on by Zoom from Salmon.
Welcome, Amy.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I have a resolution for you this morning for your consideration for the City of Gooding Flood Control Project. And I do have Larry Bybee is standing by from the City of Gooding if we have any questions for him. But just some quick background. So the City of Gooding Flood Control Project is on the Regional Sustainability Projects Priority List. It was put on there in July of 23. And then March of 24, the City of Gooding entered into a project partnership agreement with the United States Army Corps of Engineers. At that time, the project was estimated to cost $40 million. The Army Corps' commitment to provide that 40 million did require a 10% cost share, $4 million, which the board provided to them. And then we entered into a contract for 4 million back in May of 24. The City of Gooding and the Army Corps of Engineering staff came to the Finance Committee on October 28th and explained that the budget had increased from 40 million to 52.6 million. They gave a presentation on why that budget changed and what their options were going forward. The best option being that Army Corps could use their existing authorization and adjust the budget for inflation, bringing the project budget up to 52.6 million. Therefore, they needed an additional 10% cost share for 1.26 million. The committee at that time recommended that the city provide a 5% cost share of that total increase, which is $63,000. The city is able to provide that $63,000 cost share. So the resolution in front of you today for your consideration is asking for an additional $1,197,000 for the City of Gooding Flood Control Project.
Okay, board members, any questions for Amy regarding the resolution? Okay, I'm not hearing any. I'd entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? There being none, we'll proceed to vote. Corey, could we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Barker,
Aye.
Ms. Cole-Hansen,
Aye.
Mr. Gibbs,
Aye.
Mr. McMahon,
Aye.
Mr. Olmstead,
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Vanstone,
Aye.
and Chairman Raybould.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have the Idaho Water Resource Board Recharge Water Right Non-Diversion Agreement. Mr. Patton?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is another item you have a committee recommendation on. The board's water supply committee met and recommended that the board approve this approve this agreement. And this agreement would set forth some conditions under which the board would not divert the full amount of water that it is entitled to under its water rights at Milner that the board holds for recharge at Milner Dam. The committee further recommended that a bit of additional language be added to the agreement, which is shown as paragraph 7. Where it talks about nothing is intended to affect the state water plan, the zero flow at Milner policy, or the board's ability to pursue the recharge goal of 350,000 acre feet, or the Swan Falls Agreement or 2009 Swan Falls Reaffirmation Agreement. With that recommendation, you do have a resolution in your packet that, if you adopt it, would authorize the chairman to execute this agreement.
Okay, board members, any questions on this agreement not to divert or the resolution authorizing?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that we adopt this resolution.
A second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I understand Idaho Power. Would like to take a minute.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you and speak to you after today's vote in support of the non-divert agreement. This effort has been years in the making and is truly exciting to see it come to fruition. The agreement reflects the board's commitment to balancing the beneficial uses of one of Idaho's most precious resources, water, for the citizens of the state. On behalf of Idaho Power's more than 650,000 customers, I just want to express our gratitude for your leadership in the process, as hydropower remains our lowest cost resource in our energy portfolio. And as such, the water that will flow below Milner during the winter months as part of this agreement will have a measurable impact on the power supply rates that our customers pay. And so I'd just like to thank you for your decision today and the demonstration of the foresight and dedication that it shows. So thank you sincerely.
Okay, thank you, Krista. Anybody have a question or anything for Krista? Okay, I think we're good. Thank you. Okay, next up, we have cloud seeding program update.
Yeah, Nick Banish with staff will give us an update on current status of cloud seeding programs around the state.
Welcome, Nick. Glad to have you here today. Tell us what we've done, which it's hard to see clouds when there haven't been any.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. It's nice to be with you this morning. I'm Nick Banish. I'm the board's cloud seeding program manager, and I'm going to speak with you for a few minutes to provide a background on the current cloud seeding operations within the state of Idaho, some recent events, and some future activities. So foremost, the 2025-2026 cloud seeding program began on November 1st. Presently, the following projects have active operations. That is the Upper Snake, Boise, Wood, Payette, and Bear River Basins. As you may know, the Upper Snake, Boise, and Wood River Basin projects are part of the collaborative program consisting of a partnership between the board, Idaho Power Company, and water districts of these basins. The Payette project is an Idaho Power Company project. The board also assists the High Country Resource Conservation and Development Organization in their effort to cloud seed in the Upper Snake Basin. And the Bear River Basin is seeded as part of the state of Utah's projects, a portion of the funding for which the board has provided support. So currently, IDWR staff is coordinating to receive event-specific information for all active projects, including a cloud seeding 7-day forecast update from the Idaho Power Company and from the state of Utah's forecasting team. Mr. Chairman, as you mentioned, at present, it has generally been too warm and too dry to cloud seed. And we hope that that may change here in the following week. So we are excited for that. A summary of cloud seeding activities and more detailed information on our program can be found on the board's cloud seeding program website. I'll speak for just a moment about some recent events that have occurred that staff have attended. Staff from IDWR and board member Mr. Mark Gibbs attended the State of Utah Rainmaker Bear River Basin launch event in Salt Lake City on the 7th of November. We saw the technology employed in this state-of-the-art project that uses drones to cloud seed. That is the first cloud seeding endeavor in the state of Idaho to do so. Part of the board's contribution to this project was funding to support evaluation and validation efforts by a third-party evaluator to estimate precipitation produced and the efficacy of the drone seeding method, in addition to modeling and physical validation of seeding to gauge the effectiveness of this one-year pilot project. On Tuesday of this week, November 18th, and related to the state of Utah, we coordinated with the state of Utah's meteorologist, Mr. Jonathan Jennings, where staff presented at the Bear River Basin Commission meeting to provide information to officials from Idaho, Utah, and Wyoming. Forthcoming events, we will be participating in a review of the North American Weather Modifications Council's silver iodide study, which should be finalized by the first of the year. Looking forward, staff at the department is coordinating meetings with water masters from the from IGWA, Water District 1, Water District 37, and Water District 63 to gain an understanding of their budget, present information on cloud seeding benefits and the increased costs of cloud seeding in effort to reassess the financial contributions from water users to the collaborative program. And that concludes my portion of the staff update. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, board members, any questions for Nick? Al?
Chairman, Nick, is there any update on the GAO report update? What they're doing?
Mr. Barker, Board Member Barker, Mr. Chairman, to my knowledge, there's no more further activity on that Government Accountability Office report. It has been published. I think that was early in the month of October that they released that. Happy to provide you any updates that may come across.
Thank you.
Sure, that was a year ago, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, a year ago in October.
Excuse me, yes, a year ago in October.
Okay, I thought, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I thought they were in the process of doing some studies and going to evaluate whether to update that.
Well, I concur with you that I thought there was discussion about that, whether GAO has actually moved forward with any of that further analysis or not. I can't say.
GAO last 2 months.
Maybe they got doged. I don't know.
Okay.
Here comes somebody who knows
I
something.
can provide a little bit of an update on that one. So last we've heard, which yes, has not been a lot, is they're moving forward, but they're trying to get more data of what's actually been reported to NOAA, because that's where the reports go. And so they're looking more into that aspect of it. So at least that's our understanding at this point in time. That's what they're currently looking at. But no, we haven't heard any dates of when they're expecting that to be done.
Thank you, Wes.
Okay, anything else? Okay, thanks, Nick. We'll all keep praying for moisture. We need it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, next up, Upper Salmon L6 Annual Agreements Renewal.
Yes, and John LaFredo will discuss this item, and he is on by Zoom also from Salmon.
Okay, welcome, John. It looks like you've even got your presentation up and running. Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Good morning. Thanks for the introduction, Mr. Patton. Today, I have a resolution for consideration to fund annual agreements not to divert from the lower Lemhi River that help meet the board's minimum stream flow at the L6 diversion, which is mission critical to ESA listed salmon recovery efforts in the Lemhi Basin. I have shared on the screen the first page of the memo where I want to direct your attention to the table that summarizes the agreements used to meet the 35 CFS flow target during the irrigation season. The permanent agreements or long-term mitigation plans currently in place total 19.7 CFS, and the remaining 15.2 CFS gap is met through short-term agreements with participating water users. The board's short-term agreements have a contract minimum of 5 days and a max of 100 days per year. Now directing your attention to the resolution, lines 32 to 44 summarizes the water rights committed to not divert when the minimum stream flow is not met for the next 3 irrigation seasons. And these agreements have terms that include 100, 30, and 5-day terms, and water user compensation will be $110 per CFS per day. Funding for these agreements have been secured through Bonneville Power from 2026 to 2028 under a funding commitment formerly known as the Idaho Accord Water Transactions Fund. The total amount for the lower Lemhi agreements over the next 3 years will not exceed $456,811.50. And with that, I'll stand for any questions or further discussion.
Okay, board members, any questions for John? Okay, I'm not hearing any, John. We have a resolution before us. Pat?
Move to approve the resolution as written.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion or the resolution? There being none, we'll proceed to vote. Could we have a roll call vote, please? Corey?
Yes. Mr. Barker?
Aye.
Ms. Cole-Hansen?
Aye.
Mr. Gibbs?
Aye.
Mr. McMahon?
Aye.
Mr. Olmstead?
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Van Stone,
Aye.
and Chairman Raybould.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, John.
All right, thank you guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, same to you. Enjoy salmon. Next item on the agenda is potential legislation of interest, and here's a guy full of potential. What do we got?
It's very kind of you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the board. Eric Baxter, here to give you that update on potential legislation of interest. Because we are in November, we're still early, so we don't know everything that we're going to see, but we have a few ideas that things that we're pretty certain will pop up. And so I'll go ahead and just jump right on in. The first thing that we're likely to see, which is a bill that Paul Arrington from the Idaho Water Users Association has said he's going to try to make bill number 1 for the upcoming legislative session, relates to the domestic exception, and he's calling it the domestic exception cleanup. You might recall that last year the legislature passed a law that removes the ability of developers in certain areas having water supply issues. So thinking if there's been a groundwater management area or critical groundwater area created, developers and subdivisions in those areas are not allowed to use the domestic exception any longer for uses outside of the home. They can only use it for uses inside of the home. So, for example, think if you have irrigation taking place outside of the use, they'd have to go through with the application for permit process to have irrigation outside of the home. The issue that was identified and the concern that was raised was that some of the developments got caught kind of mid-development. You know, for example, a development might have gone in and put in half of the development in there, and those first folks that were able to develop, were able to use the domestic exception to create a half acre of irrigation outside of the house. But suddenly, where the developer had already invested all this money in the development, suddenly the other half of his development couldn't. And so the developers were going to get caught in between this. And Paul and the water users identified that was not the intent behind the legislation. So there's going to be a cleanup bill coming through to make clear that that change really only applies to subdivisions that were created after July 1st, 2025. And so allow them to be grandfathered in. And so there's a few other little tweaks in there, but we do anticipate that legislation coming out very quickly. So House or Senate bill, maybe number 1. Maybe we can get the state water plan changes as bill number 2. I don't know, but we'll see. Related to the domestic exception, just something I wanted to flag out there for you was that you might recall last year, some of the attorneys that work in the ESPA area talked about finding ways to come up with mitigation for developers. You know, so if a developer does now need to have an application for permit, they might find ways to develop it. And one of the ideas that was floated was to have a mitigation fund created and then have the board, manage that fund. At the Idaho Water Users Association November meeting, that idea was continued to be listed in a whole bunch of other ideas related to mitigation going forward. I just wanted you to be aware that that idea is still lurking out there. We will keep a close eye on that and let you know as things develop with regards to that if there's really going to be additional discussions about that going forward. Well,
hopefully it remains lurking.
Yeah, I saw it in the legislative packet and was surprised to see it back in there, but I think it was just included as part of the legislative package of ideas the legislative committee is talking about. So it's out there. And like I said, we'll keep an eye on that, see if it gets any legs.
If we were going to go down that road, we'd probably want to have something in the legislation that allowed the water board to subcontract that problem back on the water users.
All right, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, another piece of legislation I think we're likely to see this session relates to chapters 9 and 13 of Idaho Code. And this is really a housekeeping bill. Chapter 9 and 13 cover water deliveries by water delivery organizations. It really govern how water is distributed to the ultimate consumers and users of the water. A significant effort was undertaken by the department with the Idaho Water Users Association to consolidate and update chapters 9 and 13, really moving everything to chapter 13, removing archaic terms, removing processes that aren't used. And the piece that I am most excited about really relates to lateral water users associations. We had pieces in chapter 9 and pieces in chapter 13 that really some folks were trying to game. And, that some would come in and say, hey, this is a lateral users association that's governed under chapter 9. And others say, no, it's under chapter 13. We're resolving that now so that this gamemanship can't be used by folks in the future to make it clear how lateral water users associations are to administer water and how they're to be governed. So I'm really excited for this piece of, again, housekeeping legislation. I think there's so far been a lot of support behind it. A lot of people have been working on this for some time. So I'm hopeful that we'll see that piece of legislation come up.
And Mr. Chairman, on that piece of legislation, I think the department should get a lot of credit for the number of words and this code that are being eliminated as a result of it. So make sure you take credit for that. Interesting.
I lost the arm wrestling match to Paul.
Well, at some point it ought to reflect on the department becoming more efficient and a need to have less review of the rules, at least in the immediate future.
And Mr. Chairman, I'll just reflect that the water distribution section and especially the gentleman who retired not too long ago, Tim Luke, really helped out with that effort. Tim came out of retirement off the bench and helped us because, of course, he had years of dedication and knowledge there and really years of all the problems between all those chapters. And so he could look at something and go, yeah, this is the problem that this creates. And so his efforts there were much appreciated. So, but a lot of IDWR staff helped with that effort as well.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have happened without Tim.
No, it wouldn't have. It took a lot of time to go into that. So, Mr. Chairman, moving along, let's talk legislation related to hearing officers. Last year, the Idaho Water Users Association created a legislative subcommittee to explore how IDWR and the board might assign hearing officers in contested case matters going forward. One proposal that has been floated has been to assign all contested case hearings, the hearing officers associated with them, to the Office of Administrative Hearings. This is a state agency that assigns hearing officers and houses hearing officers who hear things a lot like, for example, appeals from health and welfare decisions or driver's license revocation proceedings. That has been floated and is being discussed. I think there's some really good conversations being happened out there, and I think ideas are still being explored. So this is still in the relatively early development phase, I'd say. Some additional ideas I do anticipate are going to be coming forward here shortly. So there's a lot more to come on this proposal. Just wanted you to be aware those conversations are taking place, and I'm anticipating at our next board meeting, I'll be giving you a lot more detail with regards to where that one's going.
Okay, yeah, I think there is some movement in that area. Proponents of the one idea, I think, are listening to some alternatives to that might resolve their issue.
Yep. All right, Mr. Chairman. One thing I'm going to also point out, just because of the board's interest here, relates to cloud seeding. The board might recall that there was a piece of legislation last session that came up related to cloud seeding. It did not make its pathway through. I don't know if that's going to resurface again this session, but just wanted you to be aware that we'll be keeping an eye out for anything related to that, and we'll keep you well apprised to it. That piece of legislation, there were various versions of it that were introduced and modified out there, that amended basically the legislature's factual findings, required the board to put through various reports or other things. So again, I'm not sure where this will end up, but we'll be keeping an eye out for it for you going forward. One other idea my last topic, the other idea is about a water right application time limit. That idea has been floated before the Idaho Water Users Association Legislative Committee. And that would limit how long a water right application may be stayed or left in an informal proceedings. Unless the director, of course, finds that it is subject to the public interest and he wants to authorize a lot additional time associated with staying that matter. And if it is stayed longer than 2 years, it was the initial idea that was thrown out. And if it stayed longer than that and it's not in the public interest, the priority date of that water right would be advanced. So this again is also in very early stages, just being discussed, but I wanted you to be aware that it is out there as well being discussed. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, that's it for me for today. Any additional questions that you might have?
Okay, board members, any questions for Gary? That's all the mischief you've been able to uncover to date.
That's all I'm bringing to you today.
Okay.
There's other mischief out there, but that's all that I think is ripe for discussion today.
Okay, thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next up, we have the director's report. After he gets done. And Matt, you can sit there and use that desk mic, whatever you'd like.
Guess I'll stay here then, sir. And I'll keep my comments pretty brief today. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Matt Weaver here, Director of the Department of Water Resources. I'll start just with a few comments on the Water Supply Bank. It's a program of interest to me. One of the things I wanted to try and do as director is take the backlog that we have from one year to the next and just eliminate it and evaluate a process or develop a new process where we have the resources in place already to handle that workload. And it continues to be a priority, but you've heard me say that now 2 years in a row as director. I will say that we just have really struggled with turnover in the positions that support that program. That has played its part. Most recently, Mary has taken a new promotional opportunity within the Planning and Projects Bureau, which is outstanding for her to get that opportunity, but just one more example of the turnover in that group. One thing we've done recently to address this issue is we've reorganized in the department and we've combined all the staff that do water supply bank work into a single unit that's in our water rights section. And we've increased staffing to that. And the staff that's going to be dedicated to that full-time under this new organization includes a water rights supervisor, a water right principal, a water right agent, and 2 technical record specialists. So I do hope that if we can get fully staffed under the new organization and keep those people doing that work, that we will see significant improvement in those numbers. And also, a benefit of having full staff and people in that position, we'll then have the experience to kind of evaluate the process and say, okay, where are there opportunities here to streamline? Quick update on the surface water coalition delivery call proceeding. I just issued this morning the last step 9 order in the season. This is a culmination of the analysis that we do for this irrigation season. It found an injury of 86,756 acre feet to the carryover volume of storage water that the Surface Water Coalition is entitled to. And so that's the largest carryover volume injury that we've ever determined. And it certainly is a function of the fact that reservoirs, I thought Matt Anders was pretty mild in the way he described what the reservoir conditions were like at the end of the season. They were quite low. And in Palisades and in American Falls in particular, we had very little carryover. The curtailment date associated with that volume is August 15th, 1952, and that will remain in place until the start of the irrigation season when we reevaluate that with our April order that goes out, and that initiates the proceedings for next year. Now, many of the rights that are affected by that are irrigation rights, so they're not going to be diverting during this time, but there are also many rights that are not for irrigation, that are for municipal or industrial uses that will be subject to that curtailment. And as you've heard me say multiple times, when we expanded the area of common groundwater supply on July 1, 2024, that brought somewhere between 1,200 and 1,400 new water rights into the administrative proceedings. I issued an order following the implementation of that law,
giving those affected water users 18 months to develop a mitigation plan or to otherwise prepare themselves for administration. And that 18-month period told on November 1. So they got brought into the administrative proceedings on November 1 and are immediately subject to this curtailment notice.
Has anybody put together a mitigation plan that's been brought in?
Mr. Chairman, Board Member Barker, that's a good question. Yes, yep, we have seen a number of mitigation plans come in. To my knowledge, they've all been protested, so they've been assigned to hearing officers and we're working through that process. We also had the creation here at the last election period of an additional groundwater district in the upper Big Lost Basin and a groundwater district in the Little Lost Basin. And of course, it's important to get those entities in place so that you can coordinate the activities of the affected junior groundwater users and implement those mitigation plans. So those are good signs that they are getting ready. And hopefully those mitigation plans will make their way through the contested case proceedings and be in place by April. Quick update on the efforts that I've reported to you this year to evaluate expanding that administrative area for the delivery call, the area of common groundwater supply for the Eastern Snake Plain Aquifer into tributary basins. This morning, I signed 2 letters that will go out as notice to groundwater users in the Portneuf River Basin and the Bannock Creek Basin, notifying them that at this time, I'm not going to expand the area of common groundwater supply into those basins. In the Portneuf River Basin, we, as this board knows, are in a 5-year period to conduct Portneuf River Basin hydrogeologic investigation that has a number of components to it. And there was enough comment and evidence, I'll say, presented to that hearing process that said, and we don't know yet with certainty what the hydrogeologic conditions are like in this basin and how that should affect expansion. And so I'm going to at least wait until we've concluded and the board has concluded its investigations in that basin. In the Bannock Creek Basin, we are in the midst of trying to settle a lingering issue from the Fort Hall water rights settlement out of the SRBA regarding the Bannock Creek equitable adjustment. And that definitely has to do with groundwater use in that basin. And we've made some pretty good progress on that the last 2 years. And so I'm going to wait to evaluate expanding the area of common groundwater supply into that basin pending development of hopefully an equitable adjustment that would give us some certainty regarding future groundwater use in that basin. Regarding the other 3 basins that we are considering, the Big Lost, the Little Lost, and the Raft, continue to deliberate on that, but hope to have either notices or decisions out regarding those basins by the end of the year. Quick fiscal update. We continue in a cool economic environment for state government. The date in the current fiscal year, to date, in the current fiscal year, revenue has come in at 3.4% under forecast. So really close to that 3% number that we've already implemented through a holdback in the budget. And the forecasted budget deficit at the end of the year right now would be $58.3 million. So I guess the good news is it's not gotten worse in the period of time since we implemented those reductions in the budget. The bad news is perhaps that it hasn't gotten better. And I think we'll have a lot more understanding of where this fiscal year is going at the start of the next calendar year. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd stand for any questions.
Okay, board members, any questions for Director Weaver? Always happy to have you here. Appreciate your update. If anything we can do to assist you, or at least stay out of your hair, please let us know. Okay, we are down to non-action items.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, we're at 2026 meeting dates.
Oh, you're right, we are. Okay.
Okay, so on the screen, you have some proposed meeting dates for 2026. January 23, that date's pretty locked in because that's the day following the Idaho Water Users annual convention. We proposed March 26 and 27, May 21 and 22, July 23, 24, September 17, 18. And this memo shows November 19 and 20. I think Dale has suggested moving that date because it conflicts with the Soil Conservation District's meeting.
I'm
Oh.
not sure if that date's been set yet. Well, last I knew it was gonna be the second week in November, either in Moscow or Lewiston.
Mhm.
So with Matt probably role as a director over the Conservation Commission and all that, might be a conflict if we had the two,
At the same time.
yeah, same week.
Okay, so that would be the third week, would it not?
Yeah.
Yeah, if we.
Well, why don't we
Just wait.
Why don't we approve this with the November schedule tentative to avoiding a conflict with the Soil Water Commission fall meeting? That's agreeable. Does anybody have a problem with any of the other dates?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Do we do it in January, the January one, we do it all day Friday? Have we
Yeah.
ever thought about moving some of that to Thursday? Because water use much ends Thursday afternoon, right?
Yeah, water users is done, I think around 2:30 on Tuesday. Yeah, they have the awards lunch. We have at times had use that time for committee meetings.
All right.
You know, say a 3 o'clock start for a committee
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah, we can look at that if that would help expedite the
Most people have been
Friday
in town all
schedule.
week and would like to get out of town.
Yeah, I would actually like to do a Thursday afternoon, but the awards lunch kind of goes too long.
Always does.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
do we have any locations for any of these meetings?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Joanne. My proposal would be January and March would be Boise, because we'll be in the midst of the legislative session. May, I'm suggesting McCall.
That sounds nice.
For July, I'm suggesting Rexburg, to coincide with a trip to Teton Dam.
Okay.
Teton Dam or the old one?
Well, it won't be a new one by that point.
Not much to Brian's dismay.
It is a designated dam site with a pyramid in the middle of it
Yeah.
right now.
For September, I'm suggesting Burley with a trip to Minidoka Dam, as that's another one that's been identified as having potential for enlargement. And then November, probably back in Boise.
Mr. Chairman, is there a reason for us to go to Priest River, Priest Lake? To look at what we finally accomplished up there?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Barker, there's certainly a reason to go to Priest Lake, for some board members to, at the very least, to go to Priest Lake to give, to help Michelle out in dealing with some of that conflicting public input she's receiving.
The final completion of the outlet structure.
Didn't we do that?
Didn't we do?
We did that. Not the final. Was it done when we did it?
Well, Mike was out there doing something. Is that when it was still under construction? Because everybody's worried about Mike falling in the river.
Yeah, at that point, it was about 80 or 90%.
Yeah, yeah.
There were still a few trailing items being completed, but it was effectively done at that point.
Okay, so we just need to have communications with the Lake Commission, right?
With the Lakes Commission, and Michelle is getting all kinds of helpful input from lots of different people as to how the system should be managed. And she would like a little bit of help from you all as the owners of the facility as to how you want to sort that out.
Well, I think we may arrange, and I don't know if it would have to be a board meeting, but we probably need to arrange for at least a couple of board members, maybe more, to sit down with those people and hear their concerns and their ideas, and then based upon that meeting, formulate some operating procedures that we can then have IDWR carry out.
I know Brian likes to travel a lot.
Yeah.
Keeps it traveling.
Okay. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. I think that's all workable. If you wanted to flip and come to Rexburg in September, I could take you on a potato harvest tour. Well, I don't know, not in the after. That's,
Claus.
yeah, I might need the help. The schedule you've outlined is fine. Okay. For me, anyway.
I'm fine.
So,
I'm good.
work for the other potato grower in the room. Yeah,
You know, it doesn't, if you're gonna do it mid-September, it really doesn't matter. I mean,
yeah.
we start about the tenth and go till the end, so it doesn't, I can do that.
Okay.
Besides that, they're happy when I leave, so.
No, they're always happy when I leave, except when
That
something
time
comes
you're
along,
gonna-
they want me to
This means
resolve.
Buy your lunch if you get me out of there.
Okay, all right. I think we're go on the meeting schedule.
If we could get a motion just approving this
Oh,
meeting schedule.
okay.
So
I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept this meeting schedule.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now non-action. Mark, do you have anything else?
No.
Al,
Nothing.
Dean, Joanne, Brian, Pat,
No, sir.
I
Dale.
want to say thank you to the staff that replaced Jennifer, did a good job. It got me through everything I wanted from them, so I'm happy.
Okay, all right. It's noted. Everybody stepped up to fill a gap and hopefully we'll be able to get somebody in that position permanently and let everybody else return to their regular order of business. And Corey, especially appreciate you stepping in. This is probably a different bunch of cats I heard than you're used to. So thank you very much. That I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. One more thing.
one more thing, Mr. Chairman, before we adjourn. Just as the meeting started this morning, we received an email from the Bureau of Reclamation that says they are pleased to convey that the Idaho Water Resource Board's letter of interest in the Water Smart Basin Study Program has been selected to proceed to the next phase of application process. So, yep, so we're on to the next phase where we develop the detailed proposal for study together with the Bureau of Reclamation. And the timeline is that would be complete by, during February.
Okay, all right. That's very good. Good news. Thanks to all those who supported.
Government shut down.
Yeah.
Might be another, yeah.
Yeah, January 30th. Okay. All right, now, motion to adjourn. Got it? Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Good, yeah, hits the road.
Yeah.